Неопознанный летающий объект, блин. Что вот это за хуйня?
With tomahawks from Trump or without them, Ukraine is preparing nasty surprise for Russian dictator and steps to bring him back to reality. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy announced that Ukraine is preparing what he described as certain steps on the front lines, a statement widely interpreted as a signal of upcoming military actions that could deliver a major setback to Russian forces. Speaking after consultations with Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky, Zelenskyy emphasized that Ukraine continues to respond to every Russian strike with increasing precision and effectiveness. According to the president, Ukrainian forces have significantly enhanced both the range and accuracy of their long-range capabilities. He noted that Russian oil refineries are now being struck almost daily, creating growing pressure on Russia's military and economic infrastructure. These strikes, Zelenskyy said, are bringing Russia back to reality, underscoring Kiev's strategy of using targeted, high-impact operations to weaken Moscow's ability to sustain its war effort. Zelenskyy also highlighted ongoing cooperation with European and American partners to expand Ukraine's Pearl Initiative, a framework aimed at coordinating defense purchases and improving logistics for advanced weapon systems. The upcoming week, he said, will include discussions with European nations about new contributions to this program, as well as negotiations on new agreements involving weapons and defense technologies. The president's remarks suggest that Ukraine is preparing a multifaceted escalation, combining intensified frontline operations with deeper international defense cooperation. With new air defense systems and long-range strike capabilities on the way, Kyiv appears determined to surprise Russia with a renewed wave of precision attacks that could reshape the dynamics of the battlefield in the months ahead. Ukrainian forces have prepared and launched a series of long-range strike operations using the E-300 Goranich drone, a platform described by Kyiv as capable of deep strikes reaching up to 3,000 kilometers into Russian territory. Operated by a unit with extensive experience in long-range missions, the system has been tasked primarily with attacks on Russian oil, energy, and military infrastructure, reflecting a strategic effort to degrade sustaining capabilities behind frontline forces. The E-300 is reported to carry up to 300 kilograms of payload and sustain flights of as long as 23 hours. Operational employment has largely relied on legacy ordnance adapted for carriage on the drone's hardpoints. This approach has allowed operators to leverage available munitions while extending the range and persistence of Ukraine's strike options. Since entering operational service, the unit operating the E-300 has completed 78 successful missions, according to available assessments. These sorties have been concentrated on targets deemed critical for Russia's logistical and industrial resilience, including refineries, power generation nodes, and forward military facilities. The pattern of targeting indicates a focus on strategic, economic, and supply vulnerabilities rather than solely tactical battlefield objectives. Economically, the campaign has been presented as having an outsized effect relative to the program's cost. With an estimated production cost of roughly $50,000 per drone, the cumulative damage attributed to E-300 operations has been assessed in the range of several billion dollars. Analysts point to the asymmetry between the relatively low unit cost and the high value of struck infrastructure as a central feature of the campaign's strategic calculus. Operational commanders emphasize that the E-300 effort forms one element of a broader campaign to increase pressure on critical nodes deep inside Russia. The platform's endurance and payload capacity are being used to complement shorter-range, higher-tempo attacks closer to the front, creating a layered strike capability aimed at constraining enemy logistics and industrial output. Observers note that while the effectiveness of these missions can be significant, they also carry strategic and diplomatic implications. Sustained strikes on infrastructure deep in neighboring territory risk escalation and complicate relations with international partners. For Kyiv, the continued use of long-range systems such as the E-300 signals a commitment to expanding its reach and imposing costs on adversary capabilities, while balancing the political and military risks inherent in deep strike operations. As the program progresses, attention will likely remain on mission outcomes, target selection, and the broader effects on Russia's ability to sustain military operations. The E-300 campaign illustrates how relatively low-cost, long-endurance systems can be integrated into a nation's broader deterrent and attrition strategies in protracted conflict environments. Even the aliens are against Putin. Russians spotted what they call an unidentified flying object near their positions.
Неопознанный летающий объект, блин. Что вот это за хуйня? Да, видео. Что это такое? Она к нам это приближается? Нет, она потихоньку к нам.
We are not losing the war, and Putin will not win. His army is now in a weak position. They may have occupied 1% of our land, but they lost 1.3 million people, Zelenskyy said. Putin fears only his own society and wants to be president until his death. So he is counting on this war continuing to maintain public support, Zelenskyy added.
Enough pressure on him and he will be ready. In any way, he afraid of his society. More pressure on him and not so comfortable life for his nation. They will pressure on him. He afraid only of his society because he wants to be president till he will die. And that's why, of course, he needs society to support him. That's why he count on continuation of this war. And that is what the big question, the big challenge for all of us. That's why I'm not sure that in Budapest he will be ready. But if, God bless, President will pressure on him, and if Putin will be ready for any format, again, I'm sorry that I'm repeating, any format of negotiations, bilateral, trilateral, any kind of, I think it will be good.
There has to be a ceasefire in place before you can negotiate.
I think yes.
Russia has launched some of its biggest attacks against Ukraine since President Trump's summit with President Putin in Alaska. Give us a sense of what's happening right now on the battlefield. Is Ukraine losing this war or winning this war?
We are not losing this war, and Putin is not winning. And really, his army now in the weak position. I think so, because they really, from the beginning of this war, they could occupy 1% of our land, but they spend 1,300,000 people.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.